This is the Porsche 911 GT3 with Manthey kit. If you want all the bits of the kit for your GT3, it'll cost you a Cayman GT4 to add them, over £80,000. So, should you do it?
To help those poor deprived GT3 owners out there decide what to do, we're going to answer a few questions. Questions like, what changes have been made from a regular GT3? Why do we get all flustered about Manthey? Is it now an even stiffer track car? Has the cabin been changed much? And will it still skid around? But let's start with the car itself.
Here we have a pair of GT3s, one a regular one with the wing fitted, one fitted with £80,298 worth of Manthey bits and bobs. So, shall we get into it and have a little bit of a look around? And we can start right at the front here with the towing eye, because these are Manthey's own towing eyes, and they're very clever because they operate independently of the normal thread. But they will set you back £668 at the front and another at the back. Then we have Manthey splitter. It extends a little bit further, but the really trick stuff is that you see how curved it is up the front. It runs up a bit. It's designed to channel more air underneath the car, because what happens underneath this car is cleverer than what happens to the air over the top of it, and we'll get into that a bit more at the back. First of all, Manthey's own wheels. These are their lightweight aluminium wheels, which save 6 kilos over the Porsche option. That GT3 is on magnesium wheels, and apparently these are very nearly as light as Porsche's own magnesium wheels. And if you want an even lighter set, Manthey will do you a magnesium wheel. However, I think these are just beautiful looking. There are so many cutaways and gaps in them. Then we get into the brakes, okay? The only way you can tell this has got the uprated brake kit is that it's got green brake pads in it, and that's a Manthey signature. They are a £1,275 option at the front and £1,175 at the rear. It's also got braided brake hoses in it, because the tricky stuff here is that Manthey have to keep in touch with all of Porsche's homologation for the car. They can't just do willy-nilly stuff like cutting a load of weight of it out, because it has to go through all the same tests as a regular GT3. Now, stuff you can't see in behind here, springs and dampers. And for me, this is actually where the real magic of this car lies. It's got a lovely set of green springs in there, which are 20% stiffer than the ones fitted to a regular GT3. And then a passive damper with 4-way adjustable. You've got the big clicks on it to do it. It operates over about 12 or 15 clicks. But the interesting thing is the difference between the road setting and the track setting that they recommend is only about 2 clicks either way. We'll move back down the car a bit. Manthey sticker, obviously, and there's a lovely little one here. Manthey closer to perfection. There we go. And then we get to the bit that for me is a little bit controversial. We've seen splitters, we've seen big wings. These are a bit of an unusual thing, aren't they? Discs. However, they do clip on and off very quickly, and where the wheel has to be torqued up to 700 Newton meters, those, one-piece carbon, only to about 15 Newton meters. So you can take them on and off with an Allen key pretty easily. And honestly, for driving on the road, you're going to look a Burke if you keep those on it, so take them off. Now, we're going to talk a bit more about aero, because as we get to the back of here and the lovely Manthey stuff, you start to see the other big difference between this and the GT3. And again, it's all to do with airflow. So you've got this much bigger section of air coming off the back of the car here. Now, what it's designed to do is it's designed to keep that airflow attached through here and push it over to the center of the car, because then they can use that surface there to keep all the airflow going. It's a very, very techie bit of kit, and apparently even in ordinary running it still runs at about 107% as efficient through the air as that GT3 rear wing. So it's actually more efficient through the air than that, despite having more aero going on. Up here, the rest of that carbon pack, that's a £12,000 carbon pack. It's just nuts. Then down the bottom here, you've got another towing eye and the diffuser, and the diffuser on this is taken from the GT3 RS.
Further underneath, the main news is the completely new underbody. The most efficient Manthey designated underbody ever created, they say, featuring airflow elements up to 150 centimetres long that are designed to push and pull the air to where it's needed. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. While the front springs are 20% stiffer than in the regular GT3, the rears are actually 6% softer.
Right, the cabin, where not much has changed at all, because as I was saying, Manthey has to stick with all of Porsche's warranty stuff, so they want to change the bits they think are important to them, not just do extra flim-flam for the sake of it. However, what I do like, when you get the Manthey kit and it is sent to your Porsche centre for fitting, number one job on the list is this little badge here. That is number one thing to do when you get the kit, not do the suspension or anything else. Interestingly, that suspension, one of the tests they have to do with it to meet Porsche's homologation, it has to go through 1 million compressions. They have to do that. Manthey reckon it's equivalent to 200,000 kilometres of running, because all components that they fit have to be able to go with Porsche's 15-year maximum warranty for the cars. I mean, that alone, you can start to see where all the money goes when you realise the amount of effort they have to go to. Anyway, back to the interior, where we have the standard Porsche seats, which are fabulous. They're so good at holding you into place. They're nicely shaped, but for me, I find them a little bit hollow-backed. I do like the fact they've got these removable headrests in them, so you've got more room for your helmet. Then in the back, you've got a big cage in here. Again, it's optional. And this one obviously is a PDK. For me, a sweet spot is probably, because you can get these Manthey kits, you can just have sections of it. You can have the springs and dampers and stick them on a Touring. That's it for me.
We'll drive it in a moment, but why all the fuss about Manthey? Well, this is Olaf Manthey. Looks more like a jovial woodcutter, but actually a very successful DTM and Carrera Cup driver. Olaf founded Manthey Racing in 1996, and his team immediately dominated the International Porsche Super Cup series. Manthey was soon building its own race cars, and even won the GT class at Le Mans on its debut in 1999. Since then, the rise has been meteoric, and Manthey is now the most successful team to ever race the Nürburgring 24, with 7 outright victories. Manthey merged with Raider Motorsport in 2013, and Porsche took a controlling stake, entrusting Manthey with running its factory 911s at Le Mans and in the FIA World Endurance Championship. Manthey now has 6 class wins at Le Mans, and more recently has been dominating the German DTM series, taking 2 titles in the last 3 years. No one knows more about making Porsches go faster around a racetrack, even if they're road cars. Fitted with Manthey kits, both GT2 RS and more recently GT3 RS have taken 4 seconds out of the lap times set by the standard cars.
Thruxton start line, can I tell you everything you need to know in a lap? Standing start. Wow! Off we go. Porsche's launch control as impressive as ever, and straight into turn 1 at 100 miles an hour. Whoa. Tell you what, the first thing you notice is how amazingly effective the brakes are, but how fluent it feels. Go around the tight sections, it's really wringing grip out of that front tyre. And then it's all about confidence, Thruxton. Right, we're into the fast stuff now. It's brace yourself time. It just feels so fluid. I've got such confidence in it though. And this is what Manthey go on about. Drivability, confidence, performance. On we go. The brakes are just exceptional. And yeah, I've easily could have braked quite a bit later there. And then it's just the way it rides the curbs through here. The moment we're running a Cup 2, not a Cup 2R, and there's the line. So that's a lap done, and I haven't told you everything you need to know, so let's carry on a bit, shall we? I drove it on the Cup 2R earlier, and it just felt so much performance in that tyre. Here, you're starting already to outdrive the tyre on the Cup 2s. Oh, but the chassis of it and the stability, you've got this lovely sort of calm motion to it all the time, where it's moving around, but the movements are calm. And this is what I just think is fabulous about this. Yes, the front springs are stiffer, but they don't feel stiffer at all. Let's stick it into manual mode. Gearbox is as hilariously good as it ever has been. And, oh yeah. Right, let's get better on the brakes into here. That's better. Oh, you can hear the tyres protesting a bit. Right, there we go. Starting to build a rhythm with it now, because this is excellent. Compared with the regular GT3, it just feels like it's got more time to deal with things. And I think that is just so deeply impressive. And that's what you're getting with Manthey, isn't it? Just this phenomenal race knowledge of exactly what a 911 is capable of. They can just slim the margins down of what they're looking at for the car. Porsche have got to have, even on GT3s, have got to build these cars with bandwidth. Manthey can just slim all that down. I've never driven a car that flows through there so well, and the last things I was hearing were a Valkyrie and an AMG 1, and I reckon I'm fast around large chunks of here in this, simply because it gives you so much confidence. We're going to call that it, and just give it a cool down lap and try and gather my thoughts, because as cars go, what amazes me more about this is that it feels softer. I know the spring rates are up at the front a bit, 20%, and they're down at the back a bit, but it's the damping. That's the true genius of this, because it's taken away that sharpness you get from a standard GT3, where you turn it in and if it hits a bump, it starts hopping and skipping a bit. The technology, I mean, damping is incredible. Damping and tyres, that's where it's all at. And it's taken away that slight bit of sharpness in a GT3 where it feels, and that, by the way, is at the tip top of where road cars are already. And this feels like a decent step on. It's not a small step, this. It's a decent step on. And it's passive damping. Passive damping. It's amazing. And even though there's like 12, 15 clicks in each of these dampers, the difference between the road setting and the track setting is 2 or 3. It's amazing. It really is. How competent and capable this car is. It's not as focused and hardcore as a GT3 RS. It doesn't feel like that. But if you haven't got an order down for a GT3 RS or whatever, or you're frightened of the money, and who wouldn't be, then this with a Manthey kit starts to ask some quite significant questions of the regular car.
As it sits here, this fully loaded GT3 with Manthey kit costs £280,000. That's very, very hard to justify. You could have a used GT3 RS instead, and it would probably be a safer place for your money. So, unless your name is Jörg Bergmeister, here's what to do. Have the springs and dampers. They are the most transformative element of this whole package. Me, I'd fit them to a manual GT3 Touring and be happy forever.